Good morning, AJP.
Good morning, DCJ, and all commissioners.
How are you?
I'm okay, and you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are things in the kingdom of KwaZulu-Natal?
Well, there's peace and tranquility at the moment in the kingdom.
AJP, your voice has always been soft, so and I'm hard of hearing. I'm going to ask you
It comes
to
over.
bring the mic as close to you as possible and try to speak as loudly as possible, just for me. Before we start, I need to disclose that you and I have a close relationship. I've even written the foreword for 2 of your numerous publications, your 2 books on customary law. Or are you denying that you are friends?
I beg yours?
I'm asking if you are denying that we are friends.
No, I don't deny.
Oh, okay. You are a veteran judge, well known for your diligence and efficiency. You've produced legions of judgments all the way up to the Constitutional Court, where you recently acted as a judge. And you are a prolific author as well, as I've already alluded. Now, you have been in the leadership of the KwaZulu-Natal division of the High Court, first as a DJP, a Deputy Judge President, and more recently as an acting Judge President when the former Judge President, DRP, retired. I just want you to tell me when you were appointed as the Deputy Judge President and when you started acting as the Judge President that you are now.
Oh, thank you. I was appointed in 2016, June 2016, as a DJP. And at certain times when the former JP was absent or on leave, I will act as a Judge President. And when he left at the end of November 2021, because he started by going on leave, and thereafter he retired, I took over as from the 1st of December. But I was officially appointed as from January until now. When I took over in terms of the statute of the Superior Court Act, that whenever the Judge President is not available, the Deputy Judge President must take over.
All right. Well, you were very recently interviewed for this very position in the last session in April, and I know that you were given a very thorough questioning. But just to refresh our minds, I'd like you to give us your vision for the division, but remember that we have the record of your recent interview with us. We have a fair idea of what that is. We just want the highlights, and we will ask questions for you to expatiate if there is need.
Yes, thank you, TCJ. I'll just highlight, as you have said, and if you ask me how to achieve that, then I'll do so. The first thing which is in my mind is judicial transformation, a creation of an access to justice or to courts, the reformation of the civil justice, with a view to providing effective, efficient, prompt, affordable, equal, and quality justice to all. The creation of a diverse bench, the continuous education and training of the members of the bench, and also other stakeholders whose professional role is indispensable to the efficacy of the court system and case management. Also, to ensure the active involvement and participation of the members of the bench of the division in the provision of equality justice to all South Africans. Also, the transfer of skills, affording all the members of the division equal opportunities, and encourage them to use their talents and abilities, and also to promote the use of the information technology, as we have seen recently that we had problems because the shortage of or lack of the knowledge in that respect during the pandemic. Well, roughly, those are that is my vision, because the last vision now is that eventually we must have a court, maybe partly online and partly on paper for the people, for indigent people to be able to have an access. But the time has arrived now that we should embrace technology as it has taken the center of everything at this time and age. Thank you.
Thank you, JP. Have you been able to lay the foundations for this plan of yours in the time that you've been in the leadership seat? And if so, I want you to tell us precisely what measures you have implemented towards that end.
Well, I have, since I've started, I've done all this, though maybe I may not enumerate them one by one as I have mentioned them. The first thing I started with is to help those who are less advantaged or less experienced in the bench to have an exposure, to acquire knowledge, legal knowledge, experience, and skills. And you may be one of the people who know better about that, because I liaise with you to help me assist those people to get the acting appointments in your court. And also I talked to the Chief Justice, who was then the DCJ. There were people who were, because of the list of the years on the bench, they could not even looked at, but I afforded them that opportunity to show themselves. And some of them, they managed to take that advantage and run with it. Also, as far as the creation of a diverse bench, I have gone out of my way to recruit acting judges across the racial divides. So as a result, then I ended up having more than 30, of whom 18 are females, and the rest, they are males, across the racial divide, to ensure that our bench is diverse and be able to deal with any matter across the diverse legal field, and also to be a representative of the diversity of the society of the division. And with regard to the reformation of civil justice, I have been very instrumental in making ways and efforts to be able to provide a speedy, affordable, and simple process for the resolution of civil disputes. And more so, the simplification, harmonization, and alignment of our rules of practice, procedures, common law, even customer law, to the values of the Constitution. I've done that. I've been written articles, legal articles, which are published, and books, and in my judgments, I've done that. And the transfer, I've started with the transfer of skills, but I may go back to it as well, because we created a pool of proteges where the appointments will be drawn. And that helped to address a number of issues. The issue of gender representativity, racial, training, experience, etc., and a diverse bench out of that pool, because we draw these people from various talents, advocates, attorneys, magistracy, academia. So to put all these people together and ask them to work towards the achievement of the common goal for the optimum benefit of the division. I don't know whether I have left some things, but also the question of visuals, hearings, video conferences, and telephones. Though most of the people are not conversant with this modern technology, but we are trying to introduce that, even though the funds, the availability of funds or unavailability of funds forbids, but we are trying, because we have learned a lesson from the COVID pandemic, where the courts had to come to a standstill as the people could not come together. So I've covered a lot, and also to assist all the members to acquire the necessary skill, even if they want to go to special courts. I assist them and allow them to do so, the SCA or Concord or wherever they want to enhance their legal knowledge, and also to know the purpose that people must have access to justice, and they must be committed to serving and protecting all the people of South Africa, unlike under apartheid era, where the law was serving and protecting a section of the population. So I've done that, all that at the CJ and commissioners. Yeah. If I miss up some of them, but as I move along, maybe I'll remember. Mm.
No, thanks for that elaboration, AJP. I can just say that, just mention that in the heads of court cluster, I know you are one of the heads of court who have clamored the loudest for assistance regarding the infrastructural challenges that bedevil the judiciary across the board, especially the lower courts. But those are common problems, I suppose, for the entire country. But I won't dwell much on that. During your last interview, a sticky matter arose concerning one of your books, and you, attached to your application form, is an explanation where you seek to address the concerns that were raised with you and your suitability as a, not just as a leader of court, I suppose, but as a judge too, if you hold the views you were said to hold. You know what I'm talking about. Would you like to address the commission on the submissions you have sent in to address that concern?
Yes, briefly, because some have been stated in my questionnaire, but I'll do so. Firstly, after realizing how some of the commissioners interpreted the portion of the book complained of, I said to myself, I have to review this section and see if I can be able to bring some clarity to bear on it and try to put it in its proper context and perspective. Because the way it was interpreted was not the way, is not what I intended to convey. That concerned me much, to such an extent that I was accused of being homophobic. So I said, let me look at this thing and see how I can address it, because I didn't want to be offensive. Maybe I made a mistake somehow. Let me look at it, and I did so. I corrected what they were complained of, so that I would not be offensive. And furthermore, I wanted to establish that maybe somehow I have unconscious bias. So if that unconscious bias, if were to be found to exist, to be addressed as soon as possible, then I enrolled with the Cape Town University for the Leading Diversity and Inclusion at Work course, which is a 6-module course, so that I'll learn more about this, and also to enhance my leadership skill, because that is a leadership course also. So to be able to address the situation, if anything of that nature exists. So that's what I did out of my own volition, because I think that, or I submit that it's better if you see there's something wrong or a mistake, we acknowledge the mistake and correct it, rectify it. That's what I have done, to ensure that what happened was not what I intended to happen, and the interpretation of that portion, maybe some other people can also continue interpret it in that fashion. So I had to address those issues.
Are you saying you made changes to the text of the book?
Well, I made changes to what they were complaining of, or my comments, because they said my comments, if they interpret them, they can mean this and that, they can mean this and that. So just to remove that.
You removed the text that was found offensive.
That they complained of.
Yes.
Yes,
That's
I
what
did.
I mean.
I did.
All right. And what is this course you say you took?
It's a Leading Diversity and Inclusion at Work, where we deal with a number of people from the walks of life, different sexuality, different gender, different races, different a number of things, how to deal with those people who are in a management position, and how to be considerate of people, and so on. Because part of this thing, even in my article I referred to, I forgot to say that when I was at home after this interpretation, I looked through and see, I published an article where I was dealing with the very same issue, where I was urging the judges to be considerate and sensitive when dealing with the matters relating to the people I have referred to in that book, because I recognize that they were previously marginalized and discriminated against and so on. That should not continue. So when the book was interpreted, it's interpreted as against that, I've said, only to find that that book is a contemporary publication with the article, so which indicates clearly that that's not what I intended to convey.
In a comment sent by Nadel in respect of one of your colleagues who are also vying for this position, they make reference to what they describe as stark historic racialized tension in your division, racism and perceptions of racism in the division. And you did not mention that challenge when you spoke of your vision. Are there such challenges down there? And if there are, what have you done or intend doing to address them?
I'm not aware of a situation of that nature as they describe. You know that when the people are together, at times there are little differences, but this one is no such a thing which could be even pertinently addressed. We address it by combining even these people when they're performing duties. I used to pair all of them, more particularly when we're doing appeals, so that they should be used to each other and also learn to respect and accept others, but not specifically because there's such a racial tension I think that is blown out of proportion, because they don't even make any example of any incident of that nature, that this an incident happened and this and that. Well, there can be people who may have their own ideas and do things in their own way, but I make all effort that we should respect one another and also learn to work together, even if people are not, they don't agree on a number of issues, or they're not friends. They need not be friends, because they're not there to be friends, but to do the job. So I will be glad if they specify what they're talking about.
So to your knowledge, there are no race issues in your division?
Yeah, there are no race issues of that nature. There could be a subtle thing which I'm addressing, as I've said, but not of the nature they are saying, because it would be easier and more helpful if they indicate an incident, so that I'll be able to address myself to it properly.
The professional bodies have commented on on the three of you, and they all, without fail, acknowledge the enormous contribution they say you've made to the judiciary. But some of them have asked us to put questions to you, and I'm looking at the Law Society's comment where they say, although your track record as Deputy Judge President is beyond reproach, unfortunately, during the period when you've been serving as AJP from January 2022, you have not introduced any innovative or new procedures to enhance the delivery of justice in that court. And for that reason, they don't support your candidature. Would you like to respond to these comments?
Yes, yes, certainly. Firstly, I'm really humbled by they say what I'm doing is beyond reproach. The thing they did not do is to do a proper research of what they are saying. Because since April, after these interviews, I've done a lot of things. Firstly, the question was put to me whether is there any procedure and guidelines for selecting and appointing acting judges. At that time, there was none in existence, but now I've put it in place. That is there, and I involve all the legal bodies and all legal fraternity to comment and so on. That is in place. And secondly, as we have also mentioned, you yourself, DCJ, I have been vociferous at the meetings about the forensic laboratory, problems, default judgments. I've been fighting those things. That will not only my problem, but in my area, the problem was very big, to such an extent that we had more than 8,000 divorce judgments brought to our courts, and they were not attended. So I wrote a memo to address that problem, and the problem was effectively addressed. Also, in April, as we all know, that in KwaZulu-Natal, we were engulfed by the floods, which took the lives of more than 400 people. As a head of court or division, I initiated a project and appointed a special task team to address those problems, to prioritize the inquest related to the flood, so that the people, to ameliorate or cushion the pains and anguish people have suffered, that they should not suffer now waiting for the inquest to be finalized and to get some documentation if they want to file some claims for compensation. We're working with the chief magistrates in the area, Mr. Ngubane and Ms. Munyimore. We put up a task team comprising the police, the DOJ, the TPP, health, and magistracy, to make proper arrangements for that. As a result, as it is now, notwithstanding the fact that there had been some problems, some people could not be identified, and some coming up to claim corpses which they don't belong to them, they have to go through the DNA examination or analysis. But 123 of those has been done, and the people can get service now. That's what I've done. And also, I've dealt with the question of the appeals, because there is a practice or tendency that the legal practitioners, they brought appeals cases or records, well knowing that the record is incomplete, but they don't disclose that. They wait until the date of hearing. Then on the date of hearing, these matters are adjourned for reconstruction. A thing which have been done, which could have been done some time ago, and avoiding people unnecessary costs. So I wrote a memo how to address those things at the first instance when they are brought to the registrar and the legal practitioner, applicant or appellant in question. They must look at the record and see everything is in order before the matter is set down. If there's any problem, then the registrar should bring that to the notice of the presiding judge, and the presiding judge will talk with the parties or the legal practitioners or legal representative and how to sort those problems before the date of hearing. That I've done. And also worried about the delay in setting down of the matters for trial, the finalization of matters, a delay in delivering judgments. I have drafted what I termed is a pre-trial procedure. It's a directive on that, which I've sent out to all the stakeholders to comment on it with the view to addressing these problems. I have also put a number of things in place that how to allocate cases equally and in a fair and evenly balanced way, because we had some problems at times, found that we are no longer having judges to deal with matters because they get a matter after a matter and we run out of judges. But that created judges and avoided the crowding out of matters. Maybe those things I've done recently. So if they say I've not done anything, I'm afraid they are not correct.
Yes.
Yes.
And Nadel, in their submission, also acknowledge your valuable contribution to the judiciary. And they say that since you have acquired experience in senior leadership positions in the judiciary, you are indeed up to the task of fulfilling the role of JP. They don't doubt that. But now they have asked us to find out from you what your views on gender transformation are and whether it is not time for a woman to ascend to the position of JP in the division. And when you respond to this concern, if you choose to, I would like you to do that bearing in mind the general lamentation about the lack of women in South Africa's judiciary, which has not a single JP as we speak, except for Judge Mir, who is acting in that position in the Land Claims Court. You may go ahead.
Thank you, DCJ. I'll answer this question as follows. Firstly, it does not lie with me to decide and recommend which candidate to be appointed. It lies with this commission. However, in my submission, the appointment of a particular candidate should not automatically follow or flow from the gender of that candidate, but the potential, ability, capability, legal qualifications, experience, skills, legal knowledge a particular candidate possess. These are the things which make a candidate suitable for appointment in a particular position, more particularly this position of the judge president. Secondly, I would say I am an ally to the women in their pursuit for gender equality. And I have not only demonstrated this by words of mouth, but also by deeds, which is confirmed by all legal bodies commented in my questionnaire. I'll start from my home in the 80s. My wife went to the college and enrolled for a teacher's diploma. I had to remain at home looking after our children while she was still away. That was an unheard of thing to happen in the rural area, for instance. And secondly, as I've stated, I've gone out because when I started becoming a JP, I asked that why do we have a boys' choir acting judges? And the JP said that he could not find them, maybe I will find them. Then I looked for them, I found them, as I've stated, that I managed to get more than 18, and some of them, they're judges, and some of them are in your court, and some are in your court now, in your recent court, that through that effort. And mind you, those people they had at the time the least experience, but I managed to spot the ability and capabilities from them, and I said, try them. Then they showed themselves. That's what I've done. And in the annals or the records of our division, I'm the first acting TJP to appoint, acting judge president, to appoint a female acting deputy judge president, with a view to giving them a way to the leadership position. And now the critical moment is that at the moment, as I've been discharging my duties or judicial responsibilities with a vision. So I think I'm uniquely positioned and best placed to leverage a smooth and seamless transition to ensure stability and continuity of court leadership. So I have nothing against women getting positions, but I'm paving the way so that when I go, I leave this in the able hands, not just leaving it in the hands of a woman, but of a person who's able. And that is a woman, that is a bonus. So that is my view and submission, that's how we should do it, and I'm doing it, even presently.
So in sum, you are saying you have put in place a succession plan that will ensure that when you do retire, it will be possible for a woman to take over. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we have a solid succession plan in place. Recommending these ladies to your court that was intended to be a build-up. And now appointing them in this position, that's what we are intending to do, to achieve at the end. And we are about to achieve, because we already now have had an acting deputy judge president, and from there, the judge president. So, because if she's appointed now, that will mean all what we have done, maybe with a wasted effort, because we'll rest with her whether she will listen to us or not, to me or to whoever afterwards. If I say something against the grain, she will decide whether to take it or not. But now, I want to have this transition and to ensure that when she takes over, she's fit and proper person, not only a woman, but a fit and proper jurist.
The lawyer in me is turning this proposition around, and I'm thinking to myself that it may very well be argued that it is actually possible to ensure that transition by seeing that you already have these good intentions, having you in this position you now hold as Deputy Judge President, assist a woman Judge President if the Commission recommends one and they are subsequently appointed, assist that woman to find their feet in the position, so that this constitutional imperative, its implementation, this constitutional imperative that says the judiciary must be diverse in terms of race and gender is fulfilled. Now, its implementation is not delayed and wait until you retire, whenever you do. What would you say to that, to that argument?
Well, my answer to the argument, as I've said, is that that will make it not feasible to leverage a smooth and seamless transition and to ensure the continuity of leadership. Because once I will be a subordinate, she will decide whether to take my advice or not, or maybe I'm saying grapes are sour or something like that. I don't see it feasible in that way, other than creating an unstable condition, other than having a smooth transition, as I'm doing, and it's not that a long time that I go that can be addressed in the near future. So there's no need now. It can be done now, whereas it can be done tomorrow in an efficient way, in a peaceful fashion. Why should we now disrupt what is happening? Unless they give me a bigger reason to disrupt what is happening with the intention to achieve the very same purpose.
Which takes me to the other concern raised by Nadel, which sounds caution that is the JSC, may have to ponder whether it is not in the interest of the judicial system for a younger candidate to ascend to the position, mindful that you are close to mandatory retirement age with only a few months left to serve. What do you say to that?
Well, I'm not aware of a few months, but I'll answer the question.
When do you retire?
Well, it could be the end of next year.
In November 2023?
At the end of November 2023. If I count October, that could be about 14 months. But I'll answer this question in this fashion. Firstly, the time remaining to me is more than adequate to accomplish what I've set out to do. Secondly, there's no law principle or rule which says if a judge has so much time remaining before retirement, he or she cannot make himself or him or herself available for a management position or an appellate court position. There's nothing like that. Even the advert is silent on that. And thirdly, this is not an entry-level post. It's a continuous management post. And in my submission, it is against that background that judges are appointed in this management position, even if they have a short time remaining before the retirement. I have many of them. Starting from the Chief Justices. We have the Chief Justice Third Court. He was appointed for 1 year before he retired.
Chief Justice, sorry, who was that?
Stratford, James Stratford. He was appointed in 1938 and he retired in 1939. Recently, we have, even though this one is a foreign jurisdiction, Judge Pascoe of Australia was appointed Chief Justice of the Family Court of Australia in 2017 and retired in 2018. We have the former Chief Justice, Ngobo, who was appointed, whereas he had a short period remaining before the expiry of his mandatory period at the Crown Court. We have the current serving Chief Justice also in the same category. Those are Chief Justices. Then I come to the JPs of our division. We have Judge Van Heerden, who was even appointed for a very short period. He was appointed in January and retired in August 1988. We have also Judge Williamson, who was appointed in March and retired in December 1961. And we have also judges who were appointed to the appellate courts, like Galgat. He was appointed in 1975 and retired in 1976 because of this mandatory term, as the TCJ is referred to, but he was appointed, even appointed thereafter as the acting judge at the appellate division. We have also Bosov, who was also in a similar position. So I don't think those created the precedent in law. I don't think that precedent should be applied. In my submission, let me say, that precedent should not be applied selectively. And more so, during this period, there are a lot of things I have to do. Look what I've done since April. So these 14 months, I will achieve what I've set out to do. So, and also, what is important, as I've said, I'll repeat it again to say, we need this smooth and seamless transition, ensure stability, and the continuity of court leadership for the achievement of transformative goals in our division. Depends not only on leadership, but on a continuity or on a continuous leadership. So if we disrupt that, we must have a bigger reason to do so. And also, in terms of our constitution, The Constitution makes it unfair to exclude one on the basis of one's age. It's clear on that. So I'm still a vehicle to take some people, the less advantaged people and less experienced people to empowerment, to the world of empowerment. And also to ensure that all this I've started are firmly in place. Otherwise, what I've done all along will be a wasteless effort. So that is my submission with regard to this question.
Well, the lawyer in me, once more, is turning and twisting this proposition that there is ample precedent for the appointment of a leader when they are just on the verge of retirement, which should not be disturbed. And I'm thinking to myself that maybe back in the day of Stratford in the 30s, the process of appointing a Chief Justice would not have been as convoluted as it is now. There would not have been a JSC with as many members as we see in this room, which has to be convened for a sitting, for a hearing session, when a judge has to be chosen at great cost to the fiscus. And that it may very well be argued that questions of practicality and cost effectiveness and the like may not stand you in that proposition of yours in good stead. I don't know what you'd want to say to that.
Thank you, TCJ. I'll start by saying that I've mentioned even the recent ones, not the old ones. And also, I would urge the Commission to do whatever it intends to do, it must be in the best interest of the division, not of a particular individual. Because if you cut your face in order to you cut your throat in order to spite your face, it's something else. Because simply because you want to see a certain person leading, a younger person leading at that time, well, that person has to be taught the ropes. If you kick out an experienced driver and you put in the driver which has acquired a learners 2 weeks ago, what do you expect? What do you expect? The disaster which will occur after that, who will be responsible for it? So we are doing this thing in a proper way so that even if a person takes over, that person will earn a respect that is there in the position because he befits. Not because some people, they thought that it will be good, maybe it will be correct to do this, but not looking at the outcome or the consequences of what they're doing.
Thank you, Acting Judge President. But before I hand over to my colleagues, I just want to acknowledge the presence of MEC Simelane, who represents the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us. And Judge Mngoni, who represents Judge Mnganti, sorry, my brother, who represents the head of court of the division. You're welcome. Colleagues, Judge Mngadi, it's your turn to put questions to AJP Madondo, if you have any.
Thank you, DCJ, and good morning to all the commissioners, and good morning to you, Judge Madondo, Acting JP.
Good morning, Judge Mngadi.
Well, I'll try and avoid dealing with those issues that the DCJ has raised with you and you have addressed. And I'll also try and avoid rehashing the issues that you dealt with in the April interview, as we have been provided with a transcript, and we have perused it and we have seen the issues that were dealt with during that interview, which is still fairly recent. And to you, acting AJP, I've known you over many years, and of course, currently I'm serving under you as a judge. So when I put questions to you, it is on the basis of that. Let me first start with the comment which is said to have been made by the LLSA. Talking from experience, I've been close to that division for more than 20 years as a practitioner, and of course also for about 5 years now as a judge. I am there daily. I heard you, AJP, addressing the question, but I think you did not address it forcefully, and it cast a completely wrong impression about the division, that in that division there is racism. I have, as a junior judge, I have been guided by senior white colleagues in that division. And you, through your leadership, I've seen you being supported by senior white colleagues in the division, or even senior Indian colleagues in the division. Naturally, as people differ in that there are Indians, there are blacks, there are whites, that is the natural thing which is there, which cannot be avoided. But to say that there is racism in the division, that is completely not correct. I do cases with colleagues, and I can say emphatically that generally there is no racism in the division. There could be cliques based on some other common identities, but there is absolutely no racism in the division. Do you agree with me on that, Acting JP?
Yes, as I've answered that, there's no such thing. Well, people may have differences. That's why we have to learn to accommodate and appreciate the differences. But to have that difference does not mean that there's a racial tension. I'm not aware of a racial tension, because even those cliques we are talking about, they are of a mixture. It means that some people maybe they side with their view, so and so. They're a mixture. They're not in the sense that we find only African or only judges of Indian origin or white judges grouping themselves up in that fashion. I've not seen such a thing. And also, I dilute that situation, even if it may arise by pairing these people in whatever they're doing in that fashion. I put one, a white, an Indian, or an African together to work on the case on regular basis. As you know, I've done it even to yourself.
And for the record, CJ, I might have attributed that comment to a wrong organization, but nevertheless, I just wanted to address the issue that was raised. And then again, Acting JP, the issue relating to the LGBT community. Well, I accepted that people might have different perspectives, But what I want to commend you for doing is to, once the issue is raised, to reflect on it and to
Judge
seek.
Nguni, we have time constraints. So we have a role. I'm sorry you would not know about it because you are not a JSC commissioner. We limit what we say to questions. We don't make comments, and we try to abide by that rule strictly. So I'm going to ask you to please just ask AJP questions, direct questions.
I'll take note of that,
Thank you.
ACJ, but at times I need to give context to my question. And
All
this is
right.
my only second question.
Okay.
What I wanted clarity on is just a short issue. Firstly, that when you reflected and you dealt with this issue, you enrolled and you did a formal course for which you submitted assignments, and the assignments were marked and you were allocated marks. And if I am not mistaken, the general average of those 6 courses you did, it's about 75%. And you did this whilst you were doing your duties as acting JP, and during that period too, you were also doing your work which you had to do because you were acting in the Constitutional Court just prior to that. Is that correct?
Yes, it's correct, except to say it was the aggregate percentage is 87, not 75.
And thank you for that correction. And lastly, on that issue, again, despite that this issue was raised with you in April during your interview, and it enjoyed wide publicity, but right here before us, we have overwhelming evidence that you are supported, that you be appointed as a JP by number of professional organizations, traditional leaders, and in fact, one can hardly find any entity or person who is against your appointment as a JP. You agree with that?
Yes, I agree, as I have said, that what steps I took to remedy the situation, so that I would be what the people have always known me to be. And it's against my nature to do something or say something which impedes negatively on other person's dignity. That was not my intention. So I wanted to show, I think my submission is that if we are a leader, if you see that something has not gone right, you accept that and you rectify it in the way the people will be happy. And you properly convey what you intended. That's what my, that has been my approach and thinking.
Thank you. And again, you are, that is now the LLSA. You are accused of not introducing any innovative or new procedure to enhance delivery of justice in the High Court for the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Firstly, you agree with me that to introduce a practice directive, usually you do that on the basis of need. There must be a need for it before you introduce it. And again, you, during your, as part of the leadership, or you as a leader, you, during the for the last 2 years or so up to now, there's a time when you introduced a practice directive dealing with judicial case management issues, a practice directive dealing with COVID, how to deal with matters during COVID-19 pandemic, and you also introduced a practice directive dealing with RAF matters, how to deal with those matters so that they are not delayed to be dealt with, especially those which are not seriously opposed by the Road Accident Fund. And then as you indicated recently that there is that directive, part of it which deals with dealing with high-profile matters, media access relating to that, a directive which guides judges and advises the parties what will be the way forward. So I don't understand this concern or accusation that you are being accused of, that you did not introduce any innovative or new procedure.
Is that the question, or I'm not sure. You remind me of some I've omitted, as I've indicated to the DCJ that I might have omitted some, just like those directives pre- and post-COVID period, pandemic period. There are so many, as I said, that they are mistaken or they did not do their research properly.
And again, as evidence of you driving empowerment, transformation in the division, and in particular empowerment of women, today we have got women from the division who are competing for the JP position. And do you think it will make any difference to appoint a woman as a JP now, rather than appointing a woman as a JP about a year or so down the line? And and again, isn't that it is a practice in the division, KZN division, that usually a person who is a DJP is appointed a JP. A person who is a DJP is appointed a JP. That is a practice of a number of years. Can you comment on that?
Yes, on the first one, I think I've said it quite mindfully when I responded to the questions put to me by the DCJ. The second one about the established tradition there is, at some stage when the former JP applied, I decided not to contest against him and to support him instead. Firstly, because there is an established tradition in the division that if the JP goes or retires, the DJP should succeed. Should I contest it and appoint it at that time, that will cause an unstable condition and disunity, in the sense that there will be people supporting me, because even at that time, there were people who felt strongly that I was equally qualified for the position. There will be people supporting me, another group supporting JP, and the middle group, disgruntled though. Then it will be very difficult to harness these three groups together and make them work towards the achievement of a common goal for the benefit of the division. So I decided, no, let me arise above my parochial interest and ambition, personal ambition, in the interest of division. Then I supported Japi fully, and I told him that I support him, and I went along also trying people to rally behind him as a JP. That's what I did in the interest of the division.
Okay, this is my question before my last question. Well, you as acting AJP, it might not be easy for you to comment, but there are comments that the candidates who have made themselves available for the JP position, they are junior judges in the division. And according to the date of appointment, if I look at in the division, you have got about 28 judges, and Judge Boyodlwati, she comes at number 19, so she is still a junior judge. And Judge Steins comes somewhere in the middle. Do you agree with that comment by those who have commented to that effect?
That I appoint junior judges. Well, that one I do, as I said, I afford all the judges equal opportunities so that the people will be able to show themselves. Because if you are going to seniority all the time, there will people who never see the light. But if you look at how the people perform and how their abilities are and capabilities, and you identify that person and you task or recommend a person, I recommended the Boyodlwati to the SCA because I identified some abilities and capabilities, and I said, this should be modeled up and nurtured. She can eventually have the leadership position. So, but if I had to go according to the seniority, as people say, she will not be where she is today.
But what I'm saying is that, as I indicated to you, that clearly in the division there are strong personalities. Then if they see you as a junior judge and you have not been guided properly, then you might not command respect of those individuals. What is your comment relating to that? That is the impact of seniority in commanding respect.
Well, as I have said, I should be allowed to accomplish what I've set out to do, because that will be smooth. That's what I'm talking about, a smooth transition. And that's what I'm talking about, stability and continuity of leadership. Because if it's done in that way, there will be no incidents of that nature.
And lastly, in your previous interview, acting JP, you addressed in some detail your leadership style, which indeed enforces respect in the division, and which is a leadership style which determines the culture that should prevail in the division. And you, as a leader, in other words, you serve as an example, and you enforce that should be the culture which will prevail in the division, and it will create cohesion and unity in the division. You confirm that you still follow that leadership style?
Yes, certainly, and that is the only one which will prevail if we want to see better things coming out of our division. Because I also want our division to rank amongst the highest divisions in the country. It must not be lagging behind. We must produce jurists from our division. We cannot do that if we don't put these practices in place and ensure that everybody gets an opportunity like any other person, and it depends how one uses that opportunity to better oneself.
Thank you, DCJ.
MEC Simelane, do you have any questions for AJP Madondo?
Thank you very much, DCJ. Good morning to you, commissioners and Judge Madondo. I do indeed, I have just two questions that I would like to ask. The first one, Judge Madondo, good morning to you. The first one,
Premier,
is in relation to the Traditional Courts Bill that is currently being discussed. I would like to find out what is your attitude in relation to this bill. Should it be implemented, or should it be made into an act? what is your attitude in relation to the implementation? Here, I'm worried about, or I'm speaking in relation to the rights of women in rural areas in particular. And the reason why I'm asking this question is now looking at the bill itself, it seems the opt-out option has been removed from the bill. So what do you think will be the impact of the implementation of the bill to rural women?
Thank you, Acting Premier. Firstly, people are really dealing with this issue, I don't in an unclear manner or unclear understanding of the whole thing. Because some people, they move from the premise that the Customary law should have no place. According to my knowledge, the opt-out clause is there, but not in the way it was before. Before, it was like this. If a person is summoned to the traditional court, will simply say, no, I'm not coming there. And then that will be the end of the matter. So then one wonders, what is the purpose of this court if they can be defined in that fashion? Because when the magistrate court summons you, you cannot say, no, I'm not coming there, and that's the end of the matter. And when we look at a case which was decided by Judge Cameron, at the time he was at the SCA, he said these courts should be accorded the same dignity as any other courts. So if you do it like that, are you still giving them that dignity? What is being said now is that the person should come there and raise an objection that, no, I don't want my case to be decided here. Maybe I want to take it to the magistrate court or wherever. But coming to where the person is being summoned, that's my understanding of it at the moment, not that it's out altogether. And also, the question of women participating, that is provided that women should participate in this proceeding and all other activities. They are not excluded. But some people, they say, no, this thing is still following the boundaries of the apartheid and so on. I don't know. They look it from other premise, from the Western style. But whatever one says, the people they still adhere to their customary practices. Even you, acting premier, if your daughter marries you, you receive lobolo. What is that? That is dealt in terms of the customary law. You cannot get lobolo dealing with the civil law, whatever. Even the civil law in our African culture, a lobolo is paid. Why is it paid? Because it should be abolished if that's the case. So we should not be something else, but if we are Africans, we have got our traditions, our customs, which we should follow. If they clash with the Constitution, that's where the problem arises.
So, Advocate, Judge Madondo, my question is saying, do you think this bill or the act, when it becomes an act, will be able to protect the rights of women in rural areas? Because we know women, in as much as in paper, in rural areas are given the right, the equal status like everyone else, but practice in other areas is not always the same. So how are we going to ensure that they get that protection?
Well, people there in the bill appointed as commissioners and do that and that will do supervise and inspect these courts and to see to it that they adhere to what they're expected to adhere. And also, there's no law which is perfect. Let this promulgated, and we see the deficiencies in it that should be addressed. If we say people should not have this, look in the rural area. The primary law they have is the customary law and the traditional courts. There's no other. So if you deprive them that mechanism to access justice, it means now they should be forced to go to the magistrate court and hire the services of the legal practitioners and pay with what they're going to pay because they don't have money. But this court provides a simple, speedy, and inexpensive remedy for them to resolve their disputes. But if you say, no, let's throw the baby with the water because simply of one issue, whereas the 99% of the people will benefit after the whole thing. Because some people, they talk about this, they have never been in the rural area, they have never been part of that life, they just talk right from the theory. But in the practical sense, that is a primal mechanism which provides justice to the people. So if there are deficiencies in it, they should be corrected if they are. But I support the traditional court bill subject to amendment if the need arises.
Thank you. My last question, DCJ, to Judge Madondo is in relation to the efficient functioning of the court. Are there any initiatives that you have implemented or you have introduced to ensure that the court actually runs efficiently?
Yes, there are. And there are a number of them. We start having the stakeholders meetings where all the people who contribute to the administration of justice in one way or the other, we form a committee where certain issues between those members are resolved, failing which then they are taken to the PEC, which is the Provincial Efficiency Enhancement Committee. We have case flow management committee. We have pre-trial conferences where matters are discussed and you see there's an opportunity also to narrow the issues on those matters. In the case of criminal matters, whether the accused is defended or not defended and what will happen. And so as the civil proceedings also, and these matters are only set down when they're certified ready for trial. There are also procedures, as I've said, there's the one moving around where I'm waiting for the comments by legal fraternity just to address the issues relating to that enhancement of access to justice and to provide a speedy and affordable process of resolving disputes. Because another problem is what is created is litigation costs. The throat cutting, more particular for indigent people. So that's why we provide these things so that these matters should not take long. So there are many of those which I've put in place. As I talk about default judgment, this and that, as I've said earlier on. There are too many. But it's not that every ills will be cured in one day. So that's why we move along, but we have some things in place and we see the results.
Thank you very much, and thank you, DCJ.
Thank you, MEC. Colleagues, Commissioner Makwanesh.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chief Justice. Good morning, Judge Madondo.
Good morning, Commissioner.
I have 3 quick questions. One is in a form of an observation. When you were answering questions from the Deputy Chief Justice and Judge Mngadi, I got a sense that you have a succession plan that is centered around you and not independent from you. That is one. You kept on saying that this plan, seemingly you have developed it from April. You'll correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that a duty of any leader is to start a succession plan on the first day he or she assumes office and not wait until the end. I believe that the succession plan, like any plan, should have a risk matrix. Now, if the unfortunate, which would not want it that to materialize, were to happen, God decides to have an appointment with you, which means we're just going to have a crisis. Because everything just centers around you and you finishing the term as a JP. Is my assessment correct?
Commissioner, even though I think you have more than one question, we are not correct to say it centers around me. At present, I'm a leader there. And secondly, it's not correct that I started after April. I started in 2016. What I've been talking about after April, I was talking about things I have done since April, not that it centers around me because of that. Because if you look at the people I've developed there, starting from somewhere. So those people, they're part of the plan. I'm not that it centers around me because they're part of the plan. Everything has got a leader. So then if you can't a hen's head and you wanted to continue laying eggs, it's another story. So the head is very important in that hen. So and this is very important. If I die or if I retire, there will be somebody who will get into my shoes, who's being prepared at the moment. That's what I'm saying. It's not that centers around me. If it centers around me, I would not be preparing other people. I will be content that I'm the only one who can run this thing. So I'm preparing other people, even other commanders, they confirm that what I'm doing. So I would say we are somehow mistaken to say it centers around me. And I've addressed that one of April. Thank you.
Now, the risk matrix of the plan, as I've said, that you said that if you were to leave now, in fact, if you were not to be appointed and other people are appointed, there might be tensions there. Now, my issue is, if that were to materialize, not through the JSC, like the risk that I'm talking about, which we don't want to happen, what is going to happen there? Which means if you are not appointed, there's going to be a problem.
What problem? May you maybe clarify the problem?
If I listened to you, when you were being asked questions by both Deputy Chief Justice and Judge Mngadi, the impression was that because you are still implementing this plan, you would want to finish it, and other people are very junior, they might not be accepted. Am I correct?
We are not correct because I've stated all along that I developed even the junior people. Even Mngadi pointed out one of the candidates, yeah, and some others I've developed. So then it could not be correct to say that. I developed those people for the purpose Because I know that I will not stay there forever. There'll be a time where I have to exit. That's why I'm doing that. So if you start something with a vision, you want to see it ending up in that vision. That's what I'm saying. It's not that if I'm not appointed, there will be a chaos, there will be a mistake, whatever. No, that's what I'm saying, that should I be allowed to finish what I set out to do? Because I'm doing a sterling job. But if I'm not doing that, I'm not doing anything right, then we'll have a point to say, no, this man should be kicked out and someone else must take over.
No, thank you very much. Let's move to this next one. Do you think that the current LLB degree is fit for purpose?
Current what?
LLB degree, is it fit for purpose?
Well, I have a problem, which I have identified myself. Maybe, I don't know whether, because I did a different LLB. That the present one, if you look at the drafting in courts, it's appalling. Just drafting in courts and the papers is appalling. So I don't know what went wrong, but I see maybe the period or the curriculum, I am not sure where the problem is, but it's not.
Thank you very much, Judge Madondo.
Follow-up, DCJ?
Thank you, DCJ.
Follow-up, DCJ?
I don't have a follow-up.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning, Commissioner, though I don't see
Marumo Akai.
Marumo.
Akai.
Achai.
Yes.
Which one is surname here? Is Achai?
It is one word.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, they're both.
No, not both. It's one word.
One way.
Yes. These are
Marumo Achai.
This is not a separate, it's one word, Marumo Akai.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner.
I just want to pick up on the question of the LLB curriculum. Because I think the debate sometimes get lost in translation. You have the 4-year LLB program where you have substantive courses and you have procedural courses and you have the timeline within which to teach and prepare students. And post-LLB, you have an internship program. You have articles on the sidebar and you have pupillage on the within bar. Now, what I want to ask you in relation to your observation in terms of the critique of the LLB, what is the role of articles and what is the role of pupillage? Are people being taught the practical or introduced to the practical nuances that are necessary for them to practice during that period? Or are we solely going to look at the LLB within the university and then disregard that which has to be done in the 2 years of articles or the 1 year of pupillage?
Commissioner Marumo Achai, I would say, I'll put two things. I did the privilege for 6 months after doing LLB for 5 years. And these people, they do LLB for 4 years. I think now they do privilege for 1 year. But if we don't have a solid foundation, when you come to do privilege, they concentrate on how are you going to do in court. But there's something missing somewhere, though I'm not a teacher to know exactly where the problem lies. But if I compare the two, The one with the shorter period of privilege and one a longer period, but the one is more quality, the first one. Then that draws me to the conclusion that the problem must be in the degree itself. Because how the people with a shorter period had to be people of equality. That shows there's something wrong somewhere. But during matric, during the university period, is not with how they are trained. Though I don't know how they are trained, but because since it's a long time since I've been trained. But I feel one should look both ways, try to diagnose what is happening there in the degree, and also what type of training is being offered to them after completion of that degree. Then we may come up with a solution.
Thank you very much. Thank you, DCJ.
Thank you, TCJ. Morning, Deputy Judge President Madondo.
Morning, Commissioner.
I must say I was part of the interviews of 2016 when you were recommended to be the DJP and the previous one, so I was not going to ask question, but I was tempted when you were responding about the comments about the legal bodies. As somebody that has been on the side interviewing, representing the division, so for me not to have wrong conclusions and assumptions, what value must we attach to comments that we're getting from legal bodies as the Judicial Service Commission?
Thank you, Commissioner. I think there should be a great value should be attached, because they are the people who are in contact with us on a daily basis. Not only because we are here before the Commission. They're in contact with us throughout. They know what is happening at all times. They appear before us. They see how we behave, what we do, how are we performing our work or work ethics, and so on. So if they comment in the way they comment, they just convey what they see on daily basis. So if the Commissioner cannot pay any or attach any value to that, it will mean that in any way there is no need for commenting by people who are knowledgeable about how are we performing our duties and what our behaviors are.
My second question is in relation to the example you have made about an experienced driver and the one that might be having a 3 months license. In South Africa, it's legal to have the one with a license, and the other one might be having a learners in the same car, and it's legal to drive. Are you going to be able to be that experienced driver if this commission can decide, recommend either Judge Stein or Judge Boyodlwati as an experienced driver so that you can lead them through in terms of your vision that you have explained to us?
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, that falls within the parameters of the Commission if it deems that appropriate and in the best interest of the division. But for a person to have a license does not mean that that person is experienced enough. And for me to be placed in a position which the Commissioner says I should be it would be just like cutting my legs and say I must run as much as I could. Because now I would not be in a position to give them any instruction whatsoever. That's what I'm saying. So in that way, it will rest with them whether they take my point or not. Or maybe they see, if I say this is wrong, they may say, no, this man says grapes are sour, or because grapes are sour, it's not really wrong what we are doing. So that it makes it in a position where I could not even myself be able to transfer what I have to transfer to them, or what I have to do as you suggest, because there will be those hindrances, whether they can take whatever I say or they cannot take. So that's a problem. That's why we say, let me finish, and then they take over in a proper fashion. Why should they jump the gun now? Because anyway, I'll leave, and at that time they'll be well prepared. Because now, even though they have abilities, as you want me to comment on them, but that still need to be nurtured. That's why I want to be satisfied that, okay, if we leave this thing, we leave it in the able hands. Because if that driver gets into an accident, and you are fine there sitting as an experienced driver, a person coming to that car after the accident, what will think of you? That's the problem. It's not that I'm against them being appointed, whatever. I'm busy preparing them for appointment. So it would be something else if I'm doing nothing. I'm not helping them anyway. I'm helping them with a vision. Why should they snatch it from my hand because I have to give them freely? Why they have to snatch it? Huh? I'm giving them freely and voluntarily so.
My last question, Acting JP Madondo. When Judge Mugadi was talking about what is happening in KZN, I got a little bit worried about my little understanding of the judiciary in our country. So I thought maybe you'll assist me to have a better understanding of the judiciary with specific reference to what's happening in KZN, because here on Monday, probably you might have seen it's in the public domain now. We recommended a judge in Limpopo to take over to be the JP, even though the difference is that the DJP was not interviewed on that day. So when he was explaining that, no, if you're a JP, it's like it's automatic, and or there's an arrangement judiciary that if you are the second in charge, then the process might be failed by this body. So your comment on that?
No, maybe I'm not clear. Maybe the commissioner says that it should be automatic, or...
No, when Judge Mugadi was putting to you that in KZN, if you are a DJP, you are expected to be the JP. It has been a norm. And then I was just asking myself about what we have done this week with Limpopo, where we had to have somebody who was not even a DJP to take over whilst there is a DJP in that very same division, but the same judiciary in South Africa. So that is why I'm posing it to you, so that you can assist my little confusion about it.
Well, I would say the judiciary, in fact, is not like politics, where somebody will come up and say, I'm leading now. the ethics, there are also a number of things which should be taken into account. I would not say that you may not put that person in that position. I don't know under what circumstances the person was put in the position. But in the best interest of that division, we have to look at the consequences. You may not know the consequences now, but the person will put that person maybe in a boiling seat. It's got a lot of problems, and people said, no, you can solve this problem yourself because you are the one who have to solve them. By saying that the person who's a deputy judge president should succeed, it doesn't mean that that should automatically follow. That person should be interviewed and be established that is a proper and fit person to succeed. But this is just an understanding amongst the colleagues. It's not that is a law or is a rule or principle, but it's just a tradition of that division. It may happen otherwise, but that's what the people expect. Not everything happens as the people expect. It can happen otherwise, and it will take a time to adjust, for them to adjust to the new situation with repercussions or serious consequences. So why should we scupper the boat where there's no need to do that? Whereas we can do it freely and so on. Unless if the person who's ahead is not fit, then there's a reason now to take and put somebody else. As you say, someone was ill or could not attend whatsoever. Appointment maybe should have been done. It's done in that fashion. But under normal circumstances, we should find out how these people live, how they operate, so that you must not cause a dysfunction or cause a problem or ruction amongst them where there's no need to do so.
No. Thanks, Acting Judge President. One thing for sure, we'll do what is in the best interest of the division. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, TCJ.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Chief Justice, and good morning, Acting JP Madondo.
Good morning, Commissioner.
As a practitioner and a woman practitioner, I really appreciate you as a transformation agent. We have seen it, and we really appreciate you. I don't want you to misunderstand that the profession does not appreciate all the gains that we have made. But having said that, I'm looking at, would it not be possible to show your true leadership when a woman ascends the position whilst you are still there? For me, it actually says you are really a true leader. And guide her. I understand that you are worried that they will not maybe listen to you, but in our culture and in our profession, seniority means a lot, and we respect the advices that we get from our seniors. Don't you think it will be really to the best interest and a constitutional imperative that you let them ascend whilst you are still there, and by the time you leave, then the waters will be settled?
Yes, Commissioner, even though I'm really puzzled as to what is the need to do this now, because this is going to happen. It's a definite thing. If you want to get a person who's cooking food in order to serve you, and you want to take it still in the pot, whereas it's preparing dishes to dish. So what's the need of that? Well, but if the Commission says it in that fashion, well, I cannot say anything, but my view, I've stated them that, look, as much as I need these people to take over, but let's prepare them. Let's give them credibility and acceptance. Let's not push them in because there's a shortage of women at this stage, there's what. They must be fit, they must be proud in their position. That's what I'm trying to do. If that is not the appropriate way, I'll leave that in the hands of the Commission.
Okay, thank you. The second question is, the one, in the last interview, you indicated that, you know, the slow pace of the court online system because of connectivity problems is actually making your division quite difficult to be fast-track, you know, court online processes. How far are you with it?
Commissioner, we have a serious problem. As you know, there's a load shedding every time. That Wi-Fi system we have, it has even deteriorated now, its effectiveness. And when we talk about attending to these things, we talk about the budget. There are budget cuts at the moment, this and that, but we are trying to solve that problem. That's the only way we can improve our operational efficiency. So it's the center of my heart and the heart of other members of the division. We are working on it, but the problem we're having in my moment, load shedding, lack of funds, as it is happening there, the public works undertook to install a generator in the case of a load shedding will take over, and also do some repairs. At the last meeting, when I asked them, when are they going to do this, because they've been promising, but that promise have never been fulfilled. And they say, no, we don't have funds. And then what will happen? The judge said, no, let's try something else until we get funds to address it. Though I may wish to do things as speedily as possible, but the hindrances at times is the budget and the people who should implement this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Deputy Chief Justice.
Thank you very much,
Sorry,
DCJ.
Commissioner Lokies.
No, it's somebody. I don't know who was talking. Oh.
You want to ask questions?
Oh, I thought,
It's your turn. Do you want to forgo it?
no, I'm asking questions. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Morning, thank you, DCJ. Good morning, Judge Madondo.
Good morning, Commissioner Mjabuliseni.
Yeah, look, I must first state up front that Judge Madondo, you are one of those JPs or leaders in the judiciary that we look up to, that really, personally, I would give every support I could possibly to give, and I hold you in high respect. But today I have difficulties. First, you debate with Judge Mgandi here that Judge Boyo is number 19 in the list of your judges, that is in terms of seniority, and Judge Steyn is somewhere in the middle. Where is Judge Mgandi in that list? Where is he ranking in terms of the seniority?
It's below Boyo.
It's not number 3, it's not number 4, it's not number 5, it's not number 19, it's not number 20. Maybe it's Act number 27 or 29. Why that should be an issue here?
Yeah, it cannot be 27, but it's before that. And the question is?
The question is, in an important occasion of selecting judge president of the division, you jump all the judges there and ask for the division to be represented by a junior judge from your division. Why do you make the issue of seniority a key issue that we must consider here when you talk about other judges who have availed themselves in respect of position, when yourself, you have always overlooked the issue of seniority, even here today?
No, maybe Commissioner Lojes, you are mistaken.
Yes.
I've not been arguing about seniority. I stated clearly that I'm affording everybody an opportunity. If a person is a judge can be given a task to perform.
Yes.
I didn't say that Boyo should not be appointed because he's junior. I didn't say that.
Yeah, but the debate was, that's why I don't follow. You say she's number, you debate this issue with Judge Mkati, that
Number.
she is number 19, and whilst the other judge is just somewhere in the middle. When here in these proceedings, you jumped all the other judges for the representation of the division to this interview. So I find that troubling to me. But let's move on.
Okay, let me clarify, because there's something wrong there. It's not me who said it's number 19. It's Mgati who said so.
Okay.
And if that is the position, I appointed her an acting GJP ahead of people who are seniors. If I have that mind, I've not done that. So that did not come from me.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's move to the next question. As far as I understand, when this post of the judge president is put out on advert, essentially it means somebody even from the Western Cape, from anywhere in the country, could have applied to be the judge president of the KwaZulu-Natal division. Do you agree with me on that?
Well, they could have applied, but the people who are managing that process is the JSC.
Yes. Now, if anybody could have applied for the position, such people it would be expected that they could be appointed. So this notion of the deputy succeeding the president, it just does not arise. It just has no basis. But if a person is a deputy in a division, it simply puts him in a good position in terms of understanding that division. But if another candidate comes and impresses the JSC must be free to appoint that person, to recommend such a person.
Yes, but must have considerations of that. Because if you come to a new environment, let's say a person from outside the division coming to head the division, well, it's a problematic thing on itself. But if there's a reason for so doing, you can do it, but there must be a valid reason. And that will be in the best interest of the division. Because if it's not in the best interest of the division, it may create a problem, because you appoint a person, you end there, you don't know what is happening, where the person is working, and what problems the person is encountering. Maybe in order to prevent that happening, that's why we say the person knows how to do these things. Not necessarily that it should be appointed. I indicated earlier on that it's not automatic that because we are a TJP, then we should be appointed an acting a JP, no. Yeah. But this is what is expected. But if there are circumstances demanding that should not be followed, then That's where the position, that is where somebody from somewhere else can come and take over if the need arises.
Yeah. And also, like this theory of the deputy taking over, which is seemingly in KZN seem to elevate it to some form of principle. Where is it based? Where is it based? Is it not that the JSC is guided in the appointment of judicial officers, including the leaders of the judiciary, by the Constitution? Is it not that the starting point for the JSC is to consider the Constitution, the provisions of the Constitution, particularly Section 174? That section must guide the JSC and then move on to the criteria that it has developed to determine whether the candidate that is recommended for appointment for such an appointment is an appropriate candidate in this circumstances. Is it not that the position that the JSC should be guided?
Yeah, but let me put this thing clear to you. In the first place, I didn't say it's a principle. It's what is expected from the previous JPs and DJPs, what happened. Yes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that does not mean, as I said, this is not automatic. That does not mean that if the JSC sees otherwise, that cannot be done.
I'm asking you this question because in your discussion with the Deputy Chief Justice, she pointed out to you, for instance, that in the country, because the JSC is a national institution, unfortunately, it's not a provincial body, it's a national institution that performs constitutional function. She demonstrated to you that in the country, out of 9 provinces, there's not even a single judge president who's a woman, for instance. Let's make another example. There's none at present. Is it not that a matter which should be a concern to the JSC in view of what the public expect of this body and what the Constitution instructs this body to perform its functions? Is it not that an issue that as a starting point must be considered?
Yeah, that could be an issue, but depending on the circumstances.
Which
The circumstances is where there's a preparation to achieve that purpose, to disrupt that preparation and interrupt the preparation because we want to be seen to have done something. I don't think in my submission that will be correct. But in the situation where there's nothing happening and there's nothing even going to happen in the near future, well, you will have a point on that one.
Now, let me put it this way. We have a situation in the country where we don't have any woman who is appointed as a judge president to that leadership position. There is a vacancy that is created. You have a candidate who is about to retire. I know you don't want that, but the fact of the matter, you have a candidate who is about to retire. You have women who are availing themselves to the position. Should the JSC took into account of all those factors in deciding on this position, would you encourage the JSC to take into account of those factors, those facts, in fact?
Well, I would encourage the JSC to do so, but it must not automatically flow from the agenda.
Yes, I agree.
They must satisfy some other requirements for a person to be appointed in a particular position.
Yeah.
But if it's purely for the agenda, I would not support that anyway.
Lastly, with your leave, The point I want to make here is this. In April, when you interview on the 8th of April, it seems as if, in fact, you were the only candidate at that stage. And it seems that we downplay the fact that at that stage, there was an objection raised against you, your candidature, based on the remarks of that, based on what was in that book, the perception that were created, let me say, perceptions that were created by what appears from the book. Those were not our perceptions. Those were perceptions from the public. Hence, there was the objection from the public. And the JSC took into account of those factors. Combined with that now, if you count from April to now, that is it's about a few months. At this stage, somebody, that is Nadel and other institutions, say, take into account that this candidate is almost at a retirement stage. That's the second point. We haven't finalized even this first one. You have put up you have tried to clarify, but we don't know how that controversy, whether that controversy has been resolved. That you must take into account. Second, I want you to comment. Second comment I would like you to. This attempt to regionalize appointments of judicial officers, regionalize judicial officers, and try to create some best rights in relation to this position. Is it not dangerous on its own to the stability of the judiciary? And lastly, so that to deal with those questions, my last point. Lastly, I was worried when you put as a proposition that if you are not appointed, there may be factionalized division there. There will be supporters of whoever who is appointed and supporters of another candidate. Is it not your responsibility as a senior in that division to ensure that there are no such factions by simply supporting whoever is appointed to the position? I'm putting those for you to comment. Thank you.
Okay, will remind me, because some of them, I've lost them somewhere. Firstly, I have to state that there was no objection. I'm aware of there was no objection even at that time. What was given to me about 2 to 3 days before the interview, that they want to put some questions. I've never seen any objection. That's the first thing. And the second thing, you talk about that I'm about to retire. Well, I have indicated earlier on that there are judges who were about to retire, but they were allowed to complete what they were doing. So that should not also apply selectively. And that if I'm not appointed, there will be some group of people. I didn't say that. I said at the time when the former JPRP applied, that's what I visualized will happen. I didn't say that if I'm not appointed, there will be that thing. I was asking me about this. That's why I did not contest with him for that reason. That was my own reasons for that period. That does not mean that these other people, if they want to apply, they should not. They should be forbidden to do so. That's not what I was saying. I was saying at the time that was my consideration. And as a result, I decided not to contest.
Thank you, DCJ. DCJ, I think I'm covered in most of my questions here, but I've got only one. I think it's a follow-up. Good morning, AJP Madondo.
Good morning, Commissioner.
AJP, during your BLA time, we knew you as an activist of transformation of judiciary. But I'm worried the way you responded to your questions that were posed to you regarding the ascending of a woman in the position that you are interviewing for today, where you indicated that you are still preparing them, they are not ready. Does that mean, forgive me if I heard you wrong or I'm analyzing it wrong, does it mean that you are saying women will only be ready to ascend to that position after you have been appointed as a JP and you have retired?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm really not saying that. But what I was asking in that context, I was saying in that context that what I'm presently doing. But if the JC sees otherwise, I'm not against that, because even my record, as you say, shows that I'm the activist to get the people where they belong. I'm not against that. So what I'm saying that maybe at the moment, would it not be fair and just to allow me to accomplish what I've set out to do, because I will accomplish it not in a long time. That's what I was saying. But if the JC sees that fair and just to appoint somebody else, well, I didn't say that they should not be appointed. I was just explaining.
Thank you, AJP. Thank you, DCJ.
Thank you, DCJ Sanbonan, acting Judge President or Deputy Judge President Madondo.
Yes, Mr. Good morning.
Yebo. Mine is on the question related to the fiscus that the DCJ asked you earlier on, that if you are appointed and you agreed that you will retire in November 2023, it means that you will have served a very short period and you will retire at a higher salary. Shouldn't that be a consideration for this commission, that you will have served for a very short period of time and then you retire at a higher salary?
Minister.
I'm raising this, sorry, Madondo, that it does have an impact on the fiscus.
My answer would be that he may have that, but there are other people who have been appointed having a short period, and the difference between the JP and DJP in salary is not that much.
Yeah, I agree with you that there are others that have been appointed, and the fiscus since that period and now has since deteriorated, and you will be aware because of the current economic situation and the issues of your remunerations that the commission was also not able to recommend what will have been desired.
I don't know whether my answer now.
Yes, I'm just trying to say that the situation is not the same that it will have happened now. is deteriorating the fiscal situation of our country, and it's in the public domain.
That will be the first thing to happen in that fashion, to consider that if this person is going to ascend to this position, will retire the higher salary, because it has not been done before. That will mean that it's applying selectively. Well, with me, it's not a question of getting a higher salary, but is to see things happening. And when I exit as well, I must be sure that what we have started is in the able hands. I will be happy even where I will be, but I'll still have some time to do things. I may not be in a position to say it is right to cut me off because of fiscal considerations this time, in the light of what I've said. If nothing has happened, because even some of the things has happened even during this time, during this year. During this year, the appointment has been made this year, not in other year this year, or where we are talking about fiscals this year. So that consideration was not taken into account. So I will have a problem why it should happen to me. Because if the new president stands, then everybody should know beforehand that this is now the position. Not when I come here, then said, no, okay, we are not going to take you because of fiscal problems. So
Yeah, no, I do take your point, Deputy Judge President, that you are not doing it to retire at a higher salary, and I'm not insinuating that. I agree with you. I don't think we are doing it for that purpose. I was just relating to the fiscus side, and I take that point. My last question relates to what also other commissioners have canvassed on this issue, that you are preparing this to enable the commission to appoint someone who you believe at the time will be ready. And that time will be in a year's time. I'm struggling to grapple what will have changed. I mean, it's just a year. Why can't we do it now? The same way you are saying it, that why do we snatch it while you are doing it? Anyway, on the flip side of it is that why can't we do it now if you believe that there could be someone who is fit, proper, capable, and ready to do it?
Minister, I think I have stated what we want to achieve for the benefit of the division, to have a smooth and seamless transition and continuity of leadership. But if the commission wants to do it now, taking out the food before time, well, I will not stop it from doing that, but I was indicating what in my submission will be fit and proper or fair and just.
Thank you. Ngiyabonga.
Uyabonga nami.
Yeah.
Commissioner Clark?
Thank you very much, DCJ, Deputy Chief Justice. Yes, I was correct. And good morning, DJP Madondo.
Good morning, Nongosi.
Thanks. I've known Justice Madondo for many years, and we have served together in the legislature of KwaZulu-Natal at some point. DJP, I came across an article you penned in one of the journals, law journals, and it's tackled the role of the legal sector in developing a legally conscious society. You have actually listed it as one of your publications attached to the questionnaire. In that article, you say that women and girls have less social power and influence or control over resources and participation in public life as a result of socially determined gender roles and structural inequality between men and women. And you conclude by saying that the communities should be educated and trained on the law relating to women's equal participation in all aspects of life. And when did you write this article, DJP?
It was in 2019.
2019.
I'm sorry, 2019.
2019, thank you. Do you think that our education system, let me include the legal system, is resolving this intractable question?
The education generally.
Yes.
Okay. Well, though I'm not that much conversant with what they're offering at schools, but that should be addressed. And progressively until it is achieved, if it is not addressed right now. Well, legally, it is being addressed. It may not be quick as it should be, but there are a number of legislative measures put in place to address these problems since the inception of the constitutional democracy. Though we still have the post-constitutional challenges and so on, which we should address. Well, I'm dealing with that in other article, not in that one, which we should address. And to address those things, we need the cooperation between the women and men, because there's a danger also to single out a certain group in a way which will create problems. But if you put those people together and help them to find a solution to the problems and how to develop this and how to achieve that, how to do that, that to me, it makes sense and it indicates that, in fact, you'll come to something concrete which will be durable and to the optimum benefit of those people.
Thank you, Judge. And I must confess that since I've known the judge, DCJ, I've not found him to be homophobic. And I said I've worked with him, and I've also gone through a number of his judgments, and that I have not picked up. And but my last question to the judge, DCJ, is you say in your CV that your father passed away when you were 14 years of age, and that you had to seek peace jobs to fund your education and provide for the needs of your family. You worked as a farm worker and a construction laborer, etc. Now, the question, how has this life experience, prepared you to be the person that you have become, Judge Madondo, that we have come to know? That you have come to know? Over to you.
Thank you, Commissioner Klaba. For correction, my father passed away whilst I was 7 years old. When I went out to market in the ordinary language, it was at the age of 14, around about 1967. And my mother was uneducated and unemployed. So I have to do something. And my grandmother, who kept me at school with old age pension at the time, they were earning 4 rand bi-monthly. So if I say bi-monthly, it means after 2 months they were earning 4 rand, and she passed away. And I was forced to do something to earn a living. That's where I came to practical realities of life when I came to the farms, where I was earning 10 cents per day, and I found old men who were earning just peanuts. And I realized that if I will not be educated, that will mean that I will be in this situation for the rest of my life. So I committed myself that even though I didn't have money, but because God gave me mind and the brain, I can make it. That which propelled me, and also to help my mother, who despite her condition or position, she stood by me. She helped me with everything I wanted to have, even though she did not have anything. That's why I have a soft spot in developing women. And so much so, when I got married, I deemed it appropriate that my wife should go and get something so to able to support my children if I happen to die, and to give her independence as a human being, that she must also be independent, not that because she's married to me, she can't do anything. So I was the first person to do that in the area. Some people will say, I lacked money because I allowed my wife to go and study. But afterwards, they started also sending their wives. I didn't know whether they were not lacking money at the time or what their position was. So, to me, as I grow up, I have a number of experiences. Even in our area, we have faction fights, we have this and that. In our area, in Msinga, there were faction fights every time throughout the year. So, through the mercy of God, I'm still alive. So whatever I gained, I want to transfer to the coming generation. So to benefit out of my experience. And the commission here, nobody can say what I'm doing is not laudable. There's nobody. Even what you say about the homophobic thing, there's nobody who has lodged any complaint or allegation that I've done anything of that sort all these years as I'm here now before you. There's nobody. So that should be crucified for something who has got no accuser, no evidence, nothing whatsoever, and I've done everything possible to show that this is not what I'm capable of. I don't know whether I'm answering your question or I've gone astray.
No, you have done, you have DJP, and I want to end, it's not a question, but I want to end by saying that with all the achievements, Judge Madondo never saw the need to leave his people in Umsinga. Umsinga is one of the deepest rural areas of KwaZulu-Natal. And you're still with them. For that, you remain a model to many people, especially those that have, just like yourselves, pull themselves up by the boots, by their bootstraps. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I don't know, maybe I answered that. Well, I've helped a number of people, more particularly orphans, females. In one instance, my neighbors passed away, the father and the mother. I had to take over and look after that girl. Now she has got a PA owner, she's employed, and a number of others I'm helping out of my own coffers, because I know the problem or the plight in which they are. So if nobody stretches a hand to help them, there will be nowhere. And even in the personal judicial functions, everybody says what I'm doing is beyond reproach. So why should I be crucified?
Thank you so much, DCJ.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, I really need to make a plea with you. We made an agreement on how to ask questions and how many questions those should be. We've been sitting until very late every day, and we keep candidates waiting. We still have 6 people waiting to be interviewed, and the way things are going, I think we're headed for another late night, and we can't afford to keep candidates waiting indefinitely. So please, let's just stick to the agreement we made. It's not my...
DCJ.
Yes, is that Commissioner Malema?
Yes, I wanted to say we are now waiting for the 3 hours interviewing the same candidate.
Sorry?
We are almost going for 3 hours interviewing the same candidate.
Yes. All right. I hope the message has filtered through. Commissioner Moimang?
Thank you, Deputy Chief Justice. Good morning, Acting JP.
Good morning, Commissioner Mola.
Just one question from my side. Part of what you reported in your acting stint since January, you reflect the guidelines that you have drafted on the acting judges. What are the defining features of this policy on the appointment of acting judges? Because you have not done like you have done with other progress areas that you have recorded. Thank you.
Well, identifying features and how are they found, there are bodies, legal bodies, who can recommend, they put a list and recommend certain people for consideration. They submit to us. There's also a committee working on that. And then there's the first thing, it depends from which talent a candidate comes from. And secondly, we look at the experience, at least must have 12 years experience, more particularly in whatever that person does, must experience also even if they little experience, litigation experience, that person should be given an opportunity to act under guidance and supervision. And the question of gender representativity also taken into account, and the racial issue also, that there must be a balance, or there must be a representation all people in this country in terms of the constitution, demographics of the country. So I don't know, but mainly those things. And if a person meets those requirements recommended, or at times also that the head of court is the prerogative also to support somebody, or the members of the bench, they can recommend somebody for acting appointment. And then if that person satisfying those requirements according to guidelines and procedure, is given an opportunity, but must be supervised and working with senior or experienced judges, so to be able to know what is happening or expected of him or her.
Thank you, Acting JP. Thank you, Deputy Chief Justice.
Thank you, DCJ. Good morning, AJP.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Yes, I have two questions. The first one, you were appointed, as I understand it, in 2016 to the position of Deputy Judge President. And you were not the most senior candidate at that time that, in terms of seniority, would naturally be selected for Deputy Judge President, as I understand it. And yet there hasn't been a suggestion, at least in this session, that your appointment at that time created disruption because of your lack of seniority, because you were appointed ahead of people that were more senior. So I assume, for purposes of our session today, or your consideration, that there was no disruptions that happened. It was accepted, or whatever disruptions happened, they were managed eventually. Now, from that premise, I am concerned, I got concerned and deeply uncomfortable when you did not contradict Judge Mngadi when he puts to you, and how he expresses it is that he talks about the impact of seniority in command and respect, that if someone who is junior to you is appointed JP today before your retirement, that would cause destabilization. They will not be respected. Now, what it presents for me is, well, either things have changed so much since you've been appointed that now we have to be concerned that an appointment of someone junior to you, to Judge President, will lead to instability. And if that is a valid proposition that was put to you, which you didn't contradict, it seems to me that then it's fair to say this is a reflection, there must be a reflection on your leadership there. If you don't contradict him, and what I had hoped for, AJP, when that was put to you, was you would say, no, you don't, nobody should have any concerns about this. I have a succession plan in place. I have led and managed the division in a way that if I should drop dead tomorrow, there will be a seamless transition. If somebody is appointed ahead of me, there will be a seamless transition. That's how the culture I have created in that division for life to continue beyond me. What do you comment to that? And what I'm asking you to comment about specifically, AJP, is, isn't this a bad reflection on your leadership if what Judge Mngadi says is correct?
Well, that will be contradicted by what is happening. Because I have appointed, I have sent in the first, I have recommended junior judges for acting appointment at the SCA. That's the first thing I did. The second thing, I have appointed a junior judge to be an acting DJP. If I have that in mind, I wouldn't have done that. Maybe it missed me when Mngadi was saying that, because it was too long. So I'm I'm not along those lines, and that is also confirmed by the practical events I have done in my leadership, which nobody had done before.
Yes. So,
So-
we can, sorry, I beg your pardon, sir, I thought you finished.
So then it could not be correct to attribute that to me. Because if you attribute that to me, look at what I've done since then.
All right. So can the JSC proceed on the basis that if someone else, if of the two candidates, if they were appointed ahead of you, you would ensure that they seamlessly receive the support of the division, and that there is, at least you do your part to ensure that there is no instability as a result?
Well, I really don't want any instability, even before I could appoint a DJP at one stage, and when I was interviewed for DJP, the judge Yapi, the JP Yapi even said that I created cordiality amongst all the judges. They all agree. So even some people had problems at the time, I could help them resolve those problems. If they will be open that I can assist them, I can do that. I have no problem when I've done it, and I'm doing it, and I'm going to do it when I'm still alive, provided I'm accepted to do so.
Thank you. The second one, DCJ, with your permission, is there's a concern, obviously, you've picked up about continuity because you have only the remaining part, almost a year, 11 or 13 months that you have to before you retire. So that is a concern that has been expressed with you, and it's a concern that I raise. But before I put to you what I would like to hear from you, maybe let me start off by putting what I would like to believe are truths that we must accept. The first truth is that the position that you are being considered for, it's a vacant position. And it's a false narrative to say it's to take the pot or the food out of the pot before it is ready. The position is vacant. You are acting. There should not be an expectation that you will be appointed to the position. So the position is vacant. For me, that's the first truth. The second truth that I think we must accept is, well, age is not a disqualifier. Your age, that's not one of the criteria that the JSC should be looking at. That in itself is not a disqualifier. The question must be, are you able to do the job? And you've indicated you are able to do the job, and so we shouldn't disqualify you for that. Also, that you'll be acting for a short period. You have given examples of people that have been appointed, rather, for short periods. We don't know the facts of the appointment. For my purposes, it's irrelevant why they were appointed for short periods. But that fact alone should not be anything that disqualifies you. Now, for me, it seems to turn on this. And maybe before I say to you, this is what it turns on. I got comforted when you said you have a succession plan that you've worked on since 2016. And you concluded that engagement by saying, well, if I drop dead tomorrow, there is a plan in place. Somebody will take over and run. So there's no vacuum from what you have said. What I haven't heard in this discussion that has been raised by everybody is, what is the compelling reason that we should, notwithstanding the time that you still have left on the bench, notwithstanding that, but also because we are interested in long-term stability of the division, the JSC must be concerned about that, the long-term stability. What is the compelling reason that you should be retained in the position, or rather you should be appointed, because as I've said, the position is vacant? And I haven't heard, at least for my purposes, what you say I should consider as a compelling reason why I should or I should consider that you should be appointed to that position. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, even though it's too many. The Commissioner has made a reference to the position being vacant. Well, theoretically it's vacant, but in practice it's not. I have started being a DJP in 2016. I have acted in the JP position for about 2 years now, adding some other times I acted. So this is a continuous management position. The fact that maybe I may retire in a certain period does not mean that everything, or maybe that at this now there's no full JP. That doesn't mean that what should be done by the JP is not being done. I'll not be starting afresh. I have things I'm busy doing, which I had hoped that I'll see their fruition. And taking into account what I've done for the judiciary, whether it will encourage other people to dedicate themselves and be committed as I did, if things turn around in the way you suggest. I'm not sure what will happen to that, but it's such a painful exercise where you drive something, when it is about to get home, you have your neck cut off. That is a painful exercise. I must not be heard as saying or interpreted as saying, if the JSA finds some candidates suitable for appointment, it should not appoint them. I'm not saying that. I really don't say that. But what I'm saying is that all what I've done, and there's evidence that I have enough experience, expertise, this and that, which all the legal bodies agree. Why should I not be allowed to transfer this thing to the next crop of leadership, or allow me to prepare for the last time now a fertile ground that these people should continue in the way they want to continue. So I should not be hurt as if I'm removed or if I'm jumped over, the sky will fall. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm putting that in the honest way, in the light of my commitment and dedication, that to me, it would not be a right thing to do, unless the Commission finds a more compelling reason for doing that, not just to do it for the sake of doing it. And then the last one, you say...
Before you move on, DJ, what I don't understand, what do you mean the position is vacant only in theory? I don't understand that. If that is the case, what are we doing here then?
No, it's vacant because there's nobody who is fully appointed in it.
Yes.
But I'm acting in the position. What is supposed to be happening is happening. That's what I'm saying. But what is looked for is somebody who will be anointed or appointed that now we are full JP. But that doesn't mean that all the duties of the JP are ceased. That's what I'm saying. They're not ceased. When you consider that in my state, because some people think that I will start working after, if I'm appointed, that will be the first time for me to start working. No, I've been doing it all along, and I'm doing it. Even if there's no full JP, I'm doing it.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I interposed. Carry on.
So I know I was wanted to find out what I didn't. The other question the commissioner put to me.
No, you have answered my questions, AJP. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, DCJ.
Thank you, Commissioner Belen. President Pete.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Justice. Good day, Acting Judge President Madondo.
Yeah, good day, Acting President, Commissioner.
Whatever beliefs, disbeliefs, inclinations, predispositions that judges might have, they are expected to have the capacity to put their personal convictions aside and decide cases on the basis of evidence and argument presented to them. And in the light of what transpired in April this year, I want to know from you whether you have got or you possess that capacity to a sufficient degree to reassure the nation that you would decide cases on the basis of the evidence before you. And due to time constraints, I would be satisfied with either yes or no. Thank you.
Now, if I say yes, because the question is just in two ways. I would say, I'm satisfied that I can discharge my functions fairly and impartially as I've been doing. And since now there's no complaint that I do something opposite to what I'm supposed to have done. So there's absolutely nothing. So to answer a question like that, that may create an impression that maybe there was an allegation, there was a complaint. No, there was nothing like that. It was a matter of an interpretation of what I was saying, which I've corrected because I saw there's some way it lacks some clarity. If I happen to do that, what can prevent me from doing what acting president says? Because if I fail to do so, then that will be clear that this man is up to something, is not the right person. But I did that, and I'm still prepared even to do it. Even the legal bodies, they say, why my performance and what that is beyond reproach. All of them, even those who have an opposite view, how would they say that if they see that I'm not a fit and proper person or I'm doing something which I'm not supposed to do or anything change in me? No.
Thank you, Acting Judge President. I'm satisfied. Thank you, Deputy Chief Justice.
Commissioner Marumokhai.
Thank you very much, DCJ. Good afternoon again, Deputy
Good afternoon,
Judge President.
Commissioner.
Initially, I wanted to speak to you about a case that really has troubled me ever since it was handed down, the Kasak versus the Ngonyama Trust. But earlier on, there is an issue that came up that reminded me of one of your judgments that I read some time back, and I was fortunately able to get it. And I want us to deal with it because it goes at the heart of the debate about the LLB and all those things, and I'll give you context. This is a case where, and unfortunately, it has been listed in your documents at page 74. It's case number 44. in your documents. M3 carrier CC versus Ramo Tar. I'm not sure if you remember that case. It
Well,
was a motor collusion case.
Well, I cannot remember by
Let me just give you
heart.
briefly the facts. It was a motor collision case where the two trucks collided. I think it was in Durban. And of course, you dealt with the facts, and ultimately you reached a decision that one party was, actually they were both negligent, but one party was 70% negligent, and the other party was 30% negligent. I'm not sure if you remember that case.
I don't remember. I've written so many cases.
All right. No, it's fine. But let me just put a certain proposition to you, and I just want to understand. And in the context of no, it's fine. We ought not to get into the case itself.
Okay.
One of the issues that concerns me is this judgment. It is based on the facts. It is decided on the facts, and the conclusion is on the facts. On the case, there is no law that you seem to be applying. There are no cases that you seem to be relying on. But somehow you get to a decision that one party is 70% negligent, the other party is 30% negligent. And I was just concerned as to how you were able to achieve that kind of apportionment of liability under those circumstances. Because I also did some research in the very same case, and I saw that there are a lot of cases that really set out the test for negligence in relation to motor accident collusion cases. But most importantly, the test for the doctrine of sudden emergency in relation to these cases. Now, the problem that I have to put to you is, sometimes we receive these kinds of judgments from the courts where the outcome cannot really be justified when one looks at the reasoning that has been adopted. And it creates a challenge in relation to teaching students. Because I always say that judgments are a teaching tool, are not only for the parties. I just want to understand, is it correct for judges to decide, and I'm just speaking generally now, is it correct for judges to decide cases and not rely on authority and just dispose of the matter without giving us a step-by-step process as to how they reached a particular conclusion?
Well, Commissioner, I have a problem because I don't know the circumstances. There are many circumstances in court you find that everything is common cause. It's not that all the time you have to make references to a certain law. So there are various ways in which the cases are dealt with. Because in any event, if the parties are not happy with that, they have a way to appeal against that decision. So in the moment, I'm not really in a position to say what really happened in that case as it's coming now. I don't even know when the case was heard. So that put me in an awkward position.
No, it's fine. I accept. It was delivered a long time ago in 2011, but it was very interesting.
So I would not be in I would say something wrong, and you say, hey, well, we have said this and that. It was not that. Because I will be guessing. And
okay. No, it's fine. I will leave it there. But I think the point that I'm trying to underscore is it is really important for judges to really understand that their judgments are not for the parties, and their judgments are not for the other judges, but they are for the public at large. Most probably there is a particular interest group in those judgments, students and lecturers, and we use these judgments as teaching tools. But I will leave it there. Thank you very much, DCJ.
Okay, maybe let me say something. I don't think, are you saying there were no reasons for judgment?
No, there are reasons. It is reasoned, but on the basis of the facts themselves. So the reasoning is not arising from the interpretation of the cases that came before, but most importantly, the quantification or rather the apportionment of liability is not clear as to how you got to 70-30 as opposed to 50-50 or 60-40. So it's not clear as to how you quantified that kind of liability, but I will leave it there.
Well, it's not all the time that we have to refer to the law in that fashion. It depends on the circumstances of each particular case. As I have said, if it's common cause, you silent effects, and maybe the evidence shows this one is 30 or 70%. Unless those people, they don't agree, then you can go to that extent.
Are there any questions from the virtual platform?
Yes, DCJ.
Yes, Commissioner Singh.
Thank you very much. I've had my hand on for some time, but thank you very much for the opportunity. Good afternoon, Acting Judge President Madondo.
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioner Singh.
I'll be very, very brief because I'd like to ask the other candidates a similar question on the succession plan. Now, it's very good to have a succession plan. I can recall us, and I think probably the Deputy Chief Justice will assist. I'm not sure whether it was the Free State or the SCA where we had other judges within that division fully supporting the candidacy of the applicant at that time. Now, this brings me to the succession plan. Has the succession plan been canvassed with other judges within your division? And has there been a buy-in to the succession plan? Because I would really like to ask this question of the other two applicants that come before us. So that's my first question.
Well, the succession plan is, let me start from this so that we'll have a background to it.
And DJP, may I ask that you try to be as concise as possible? Of course, I don't want you to leave out anything you think is important, but just try to keep your answers crisp. We are seriously running out of time.
Thank you, DCJ. I will do so by affording everybody an opportunity to do something or to act or do something. That's where you pick up a person who's capable, and you talk to other senior people and find out how do they rate that person. And then from what their response is, then you gather. That's not merely say that that's the only person to be considered. But when we are looking at the succession, that we have 1, 2, or in the worst scenario, maybe 3 people, depending on the circumstances. It's not that we convene a meeting and say, now we have a succession plan. No.
No, thank you for that. The second question, short question, is I want to test the validity of an observation you made in 2011 when you were a candidate and Judge Chiman Patel was also a candidate at that time. And I remember, and I've seen through the records, that Commissioner Koos van der Merwe at that time asked whether the time was not ripe to appoint, and in inverted commas, an Indian as judge president. And you responded as follows, and I quote, "I don't think so. We still have things to address, imbalances, all kinds of things which need more insight, which a person who is not a black African cannot be privy to," I close quote. Given that we have a white female that we are going to be interviewing a little later on in the day, would that observation that you made in 2011 still be relevant today in 2022? Thank you.
Well, I would not say it be relevant because it did not carry a day even on that at that time. So it cannot be relevant anyway. If it carried a day, then it may be relevant.
So what you are saying is if the commission decides to appoint a white female as the judge president, there wouldn't be any problem in that? Okay.
Well, that's within the rights of the commission. If the commission deems that fit, then that's okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, DCJ.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Singh. Commissioner Bernard, Commissioner Malema, Commissioner Bredenbach, anything from you?
I must get some time to pass.
How about DCJ?
Commissioner Barnard has a question, DCJ.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Deputy or Acting President. My first question is on leadership. Is as a leader in a court or a society of an organization, or in the family or wherever, have you ever been in a difficult situation where there's serious animosity or differences in those you lead? How does one deal with that? You know, for example, maybe even in a division with judges in your division or legal practitioners, how do you go about it?
Thank you, Commissioner Barron. Well, it depends on the nature of a dispute. But if a person gives me a side of a dispute, then I want to hear also from the other side and put the two people together and find out where the problems are. Then I'll indicate to them, is this not the problem, and make some proposal if they agree to it and what each wants to see happening. And then find out from the other, if that is the position, how are we going to resolve this thing in an amicable way, but not in a meeting, but maybe the three of us, and point out to those people how this thing is going to disrupt the proper functioning of the institution and so on, and then we, in most instances, we agree and resolve the problem in that way. That's the first step of doing it.
Thank you. The second question then is you know, the judge is often a leader in court. Now, when there's litigation on behalf of a minor and it's run for a number of days, if in mid-trial then the matter of recusal comes up, what factors should the court consider and how should the process unfold before the court makes a decision on recusal?
Well, the question of recusal, because the matters relating to minors are given first priority in any way. So if the judge feels that cannot do that matter because of APC, you have to find another judge who will deal with the matter quickly.
But will the judge hear the parties on that before making such a decision?
Let's say if a judge is of the view that he wants to recuse himself or herself, they find out and indicate to the parties that, well, this is the position, or how do you feel? If they feel, no, you can, it's not automatic, you can recuse yourself, then you do it and you make preparations how to see to it that the matter is done. Or they object, they also lodge an application for the judge's recusal. Then it's dealt with there, and at the end it's realized that no, this judge cannot proceed with the matter. Then the matter is given to somebody else.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bernard. Anyone else, commissioners on the virtual platform? All right. DJP, I have just one final question for you. If one of the other candidates is appointed in this vacancy, will you support her to ensure that the welfare of your division and the people it serves is safeguarded?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, we've reached the end of your interview. Thank you. Thank you very much for availing yourself. And unless there's anything more you want to say to us, you're excused.
TCJ, maybe I thought you'd give me a closing submission.
I just said.
It's very short.
No, I just said, unless there's something else you want to say to us, you are
Okay.
excused. So you still have an opportunity to.
Oh, thank
to
you.
speak.
Maybe I could not hear you properly.
Yes.
Sorry for that. No, I don't have too many things to say, but I would say the following facts or the following things that stand out in my application, which in my submission ought to weigh in your deliberative process. On the question of my suitability in terms of ability, capability, experience, expertise, and the like, there's nobody says I'm lacking in that, which I could submit it on that ground alone. I have demonstrated that I'm more capable or I'm more equal to the task that lies ahead of me if I'm appointed. And secondly, as I've mentioned, and some think that maybe I don't want to vacate the position, whatever, is that, in my view, I submit with respect that the smooth and seamless transition, stability, and continuity of the court leadership is essential. And the last thing, or the other third thing, is that as some commissioners also have been alluded, there's no basis to conclude that I'm somehow homophobic. And lastly, with regard to my age, which seems to be a big issue, I've indicated a number of judges who have been appointed in the position. I will not repeat that. But in the light of my work and my ethics and what I've done, even for those who are less advantaged or experienced, in my submission, I feel that it would be proper and just to say, in fact, it would be fair and just. Let me take out proper, fair and just, to allow me to finish this thing in a way which also I would feel that I've made a contribution, and the contribution has been recognized. And I still have to do things. As I've indicated, that since April I've done a lot of things. So the 14 months is a lot of time. I can do a lot. I remember when I was applying for DJP, one commissioner said, I'm old now, I can't do anything. Why do I not give way to the young people? Had that carried the day, I wouldn't have done all these things I've done now. Because I was said to be old, I could not do a thing afterwards. I did a lot. Even now, I can do it. Look, I passed the certificate in flying colors more than other people who are younger than me. Then I can still do something in the period I have, which will make me also feeling happy to have done something for the nation. So that is my submission, and also I want to emphasize, I'm not saying that somebody must not be appointed, but what I'm saying that the achievement of transformative goals, they don't only depend on leadership, but in the continuity of leadership, because if the continuity, that shows that we have started somewhere And the person has to finalize that and start something new, depending on the challenges one is facing at the time. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that anybody should not be appointed if the commission deems that fit. Thank you, DCJ. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners.
Thank you, Acting Judge President Madondo. Go well.
Thank you.